You've probably taken the bus 100 times and never thought twice about the person driving it. But on this quiet Tuesday morning, in the heart of Chicago, a man named Ernest Watts sat behind the wheel of bus route 62 like he had for the last 21 years. Except today. He wasn't just driving. He was disappearing, with $5.2 million in cold, untraceable cash. And nobody saw it coming. Not the police, not the city, not even his own wife. Ernest didn't wear expensive watches. He never talked more than needed. And his record? Clean. Cleaner than hospital glass. But for years, behind those quiet eyes, he'd been watching, waiting, learning the system from the inside. What would make a 58-year-old man with a spotless record, no debt, and barely any social media vanish with millions? Without leaving so much as a fingerprint? Imagine riding the same bus every day, waving at the driver like always, only to learn he was planning the perfect heist the whole time. Would you feel betrayed? Impressed? Let us know in the comments. At 5:34 a.m., bus 62 left the depot like it always did. At 6:17 a.m., Ernest made his third stop and took on 8 passengers, mostly regulars. A high school teacher, a construction foreman, and a sleepy woman carrying a donut bag. Routine. Predictable. Comforting. But just before the 7th stop, Ernest glanced at his watch, a small twitch in his face. The first sign that today was different. By the time anyone realized what had happened, Ernest was already 2 states away. And the $5.2 million? Already gone. Ernest Watts had memorized his route like scripture. From Union Station to 63rd and Halsted, every light, every delay, every shortcut. He knew which intersections had blind spots, which streets the transit authorities' cameras didn't cover, and exactly how long it would take before anyone realized he was gone. It started subtle. At 6:58 a.m., instead of taking his usual left down Roosevelt Road, Ernest made a casual, almost accidental right, just 2 blocks off track. No one said anything. After all, who questions the driver? But by 7:11 a.m., the route was unrecognizable, even to the early risers glued to their coffee cups. One woman frowned. A man at the back checked his phone. But Ernest, he just kept driving. If you were a passenger on that bus, at what point would you realize something was off? Drop your moment below. Back at the depot, his supervisor noticed the GPS blinking weirdly. Looks like Route 62's off by a few blocks, he muttered. A quick call to Ernest's radio got no answer. Unusual, but not alarming yet. It wasn't until 7:35 a.m., when the bus disappeared completely from the system, that panic bloomed. He wasn't running red lights. He wasn't driving fast. In fact, Ernest obeyed every single traffic law. Because the key to pulling off something this bold was not to act bold at all. At 7:43 a.m., he turned onto an old industrial road, no traffic cameras, no pedestrians, no witnesses. He calmly stood up, walked to the back of the bus, and pulled a canvas duffel bag from beneath the rearmost seat. Inside, $5.2 million dollars, tightly stacked, clean bills, already separated into bundles. No alarms. No broken windows. No weapons. Just a man with a plan. And a bus full of sleepy strangers who had no idea they were inside a moving getaway vehicle. There's something different about silence when money is involved. It's heavier. And that duffel bag? It didn't clink. It didn't jingle. It thudded, soft and serious, like a heartbeat in a padded room. Ernest lowered the bag gently onto the rear seat, unzipped it halfway, and peeked in. Neatly banded stacks. Hundreds. 50s. More cash than he'd ever seen in a movie, let alone in real life. It hadn't been a one-day operation. This plan, 16 months in the making. It started with the night shift. Working weekends nobody wanted. Accepting routes with fewer passengers and less oversight. And slowly, methodically, he identified every vulnerability in the transit system's operations. Ever had a plan so crazy, you kept it to yourself for over a year? Let us know what it was, if it's safe to share. Meanwhile, back at the Transit Authority headquarters. 8:02 a.m. Ernest's route shows a blank screen. 8:05 a.m. An operator tries to contact him again. Static. No response. 8:10 a.m. A call goes out to the Chicago Police Department. We've got a bus off route. Driver unresponsive. Possibly stolen. Route 62, unit number 4070. And just like that, Ernest was officially a suspect. The passengers still hadn't caught on. Some thought it was a detour. Some were asleep. A few started whispering. Then Ernest stood up again. He walked to the middle of the bus and spoke, quietly but clearly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be making an unscheduled stop. No need to panic. Just a technical issue." He smiled. No one panicked. That bag. It didn't come from a bank. It didn't come from a heist. It came from somewhere deeper. From a hidden chain of transactions that left no paper trail. From a place where trust meant silence, and silence paid millions. And the most shocking part? The people who gave him the money knew exactly what he was going to do with it. They counted on it. You don't just walk away with $5.2 million. Not without strings. Not without someone watching or waiting. And Ernest, he was no mastermind. But he had something they needed. Access. It started with a man in a black hoodie, riding silently on the back seat every Thursday. Same time. Same stop. Always alone. No small talk. No smile. But one night, as Ernest paused at the depot, the man stepped forward. "You keep your head down. I've seen that. You're consistent." Ernest didn't answer. "We're looking for someone like you. No risk. All reward. But you can't tell anyone. Not ever." And just like that, the contract was laid. Not on paper. Not in email. But in silence, and in trust built from watching. He thought about his overdue mortgage. His daughter's student loans. The retirement he couldn't afford. The man didn't promise wealth. He promised a way out. Would you take an offer from a stranger if it meant solving all your financial problems, but required total silence and no turning back? Drop your honest take. The bus makes a wide turn into a narrow industrial road. No signs. No cameras. A place where GPS signals go fuzzy. Ernest pulls the brake gently. The passengers are growing suspicious. One woman steps forward. "Driver, this ain't part of the route." "What's going on?" Ernest turns, calm. "Just a quick check-in. Please remain seated. It's all been reported." But it hadn't. And his eyes. They gave it away. He was scared. At Transit HQ, red lights flashed. GPS showed bus number 4070 had gone completely dark. Last signal. A dead industrial zone used for decommissioned trains. CPD dispatch goes out. Marked as Priority 1. Inside the bag was only part of the story. The real deal was what Ernest agreed to. Once he turned that engine off, he wasn't just a driver anymore. He was a liability. What they gave him came with terms. And one of them was, don't ever stop until the drop is done. But now he had stopped. And someone else had noticed. You won't believe who shows up next, and what they were really there to collect. You can plan the perfect heist. Calculate every turn. Rehearse every word. But what you can't control is who might be watching when you least expect. Ernest adjusts the mirror. Passenger anxiety is growing. One man in a tie stands up. "Driver, this doesn't feel right. I have a meeting to catch. We need answers." Ernest's voice is steady, but forced. "Sit down, sir. Everything's under control." A woman grips her phone tightly. "Why don't we have signal here?" She doesn't realize. Her battery is full. Her signal was cut. Ernest knows that too. A black SUV creeps into view. Tinted windows. No plates. No sound. It parks 40 yards behind the bus. Just watching. They told Ernest, when you make the pickup, don't stop. No questions. No talking. And never let the bag out of sight. But now, the bag sits unzipped. Half covered in a dull gray hoodie at the back row. Someone noticed. Passenger 4, name, Lionel, leans toward the back. His eyes flick to the bag. Then back to Ernest. He stands. Ernest catches the movement in the mirror. "Don't touch the bag." Lionel freezes. "You mean that's yours?" Silence. Another voice, softer. "You a driver, or a mule?" The silence becomes heavy. This wasn't part of the script. And Ernest knew it. Someone on board knew something. And outside, the SUV's door finally opens. Slow motion. Boots hit gravel. Gloved hands. Earpiece. But no badge. Just one black-gloved hand reaching back in the car. And pulling out a burner phone. Ernest turned the key in the ignition. But it wouldn't start. And in the mirror, he saw something that told him this job had just changed. Every bus driver knows their regulars. The quiet ones. The loud ones. The ones who never say a word. And today, one of them wasn't supposed to be there. The engine refuses to turn. Ernest's fingers tighten on the wheel. Behind him, Lionel eyes the duffel bag again. "If you're not going to answer us," he says, "we'll find out ourselves." Another man, hoodie, headphones, silent the entire trip, suddenly stands. He speaks for the first time. "Nobody touches that bag." The voice is calm. Authoritative. Too calm. That voice. Not a passenger. Not a stranger. A tail. "I told them you'd get sloppy," the silent man says, removing an earpiece from under his hoodie. The whole bus turns. "Wait. Are you a cop?" "He ain't a cop," Ernest says flatly. "Cops don't ride silent in the back and wait until the driver chokes." Voices rise. Passengers panic. A woman screams, "I want off this bus now." The silent man lifts his hand, revealing nothing but a badge-shaped wallet, empty. "Badge is in the river," he says. "Just like the last driver who screwed them over." The man isn't a cop. He's cleanup. Insurance. To make sure Ernest didn't get ideas. And Ernest had ideas. He was never supposed to survive this route. Just like the bag wasn't meant to make it to the final stop. But both had made it this far. And now, everything was unraveling. Ernest in a smoky room, low light. A man slides a photo across the table. It's the silent passenger. "He's not with us. But he's coming anyway. Make it to mile 23. That's all. After that, he's your problem." The silent man leans down to Ernest. "This engine's not broken. It was paused." He taps a code into the dash panel. The engine hums back to life. One silent man. One duffel bag. One bus full of people caught in a web of lies. Who do you trust? Let us know who you think planted the silent man, and why. Drop your theory. Ernest glanced in the rear view, and in that moment, he knew the rules had changed. This was no longer a getaway. This was a trap. Mile 23 was just a stretch of cracked asphalt. To most people, just a marker on a forgotten map. To Ernest, it was everything. The drop. The betrayal. The exit. The bus engine groans but stays alive. Passengers murmur nervously. The silent man sits mid-row now, close enough to act, far enough to observe. Lionel hasn't taken his eyes off the bag since the last stop. Ernest grips the wheel tighter. His palms slick with sweat. "Mile 23, he mutters. "Time to see who folds." Ernest stares at two men across from him. One holds up a photo of the mile 23 exit. "You've got a 3-minute window. You miss it, the bag stays, you don't." "And if your tail figures it out?" Ernest asks. "He won't." They both laugh like it's been rehearsed. "You'll do your job, and we'll do ours." 9:57 a.m. The old highway starts to curve. A rusted sign flashes by, mile 23. The moment is here. Ernest clicks the left signal, a single flash. Lionel's eyes widen. He knows the cue. So does the silent man. "This isn't your route," the man says. "It is today," Ernest growls, veering toward a dirt side road. The bus lurches. Passengers shout. Ernest pulls to a stop beneath a bridge. Graffiti covers the walls. A black SUV idles in the shadows. Everybody stay in your seat. Ernest barks. Lionel moves fast. He grabs the bag. The silent man stands, blocks him. Ernest flings open the driver's door and steps outside. Two men from the SUV approach. They don't speak, just look. They were expecting someone. Not Ernest. Not the silent man. Not all these witnesses. The plan had changed. And nobody told Ernest. "Where's the handler?" one man asks. Ernest shrugs. "Maybe in the back. Maybe in the river." "Where's the bag?" Ernest just grins. The silent man pushes Lionel aside and rushes off the bus. One of the SUV men reaches under his jacket. Ernest drops to the ground, just in time. A shot rings out. The bag flies through the air. A thud on the dirt. A scramble of feet. And just like that, the real game begins. It wasn't just money. It was leverage. And everyone wanted it. Even Ernest. Stay tuned. Part 8 is coming. Absolutely. Let's continue. They thought it was just cash. Stacks of unmarked bills. A payoff. A payout. A clean getaway. But they didn't know Ernest. And they sure as hell didn't know what he'd slipped into the bag the night before. The air still hums from the echo. People scream on the bus. The man in the hoodie stumbles back, grazed. The SUV revs, the men retreat. But not before one yells, "You better pray that bag's real." He doesn't rush. He knows this is it. The test. He kneels beside it, unzips the main compartment, and there it is. Bundles of cash. Band after band of government-sealed $100 notes. But that's not all. Hidden beneath the money. A phone. 2 microchips. And a folded envelope with only 3 words on it. Deliver. Don't open. He sits at a kitchen table lit by a single dangling bulb. The bag is open. The money is real, fresh, crisp, no markings. But the envelope wasn't in the original plan. A man in a charcoal suit hands it to him. New instructions. Last minute. "What is it?" Ernest asks. "Insurance." "Against what?" The man smiles. "Betrayal." He walks calmly toward the front of the bus. Lionel is trembling. Passengers stare. "Everyone all right?" Ernest asks, steady. No one answers. He drives for 5 more miles in silence. Then, a tunnel. Graffiti-lined, damp, low ceiling. He slows. Stops. He checks the bag again. Still there. But now he knows, the money is bait. The phone and chips. The real cargo. And that envelope. It's the detonator. Ernest wasn't a criminal. He was a courier in a high-stakes war. But something about this mission had gone off-script. Someone wanted more than money. They wanted control. What do you think is inside the envelope? Who put it there, and why didn't Ernest refuse? Speech balloon, drop your theory in the comments. Ernest breaks the one rule. He opens the envelope. And everything changes. There are some rules you never break. And some letters you never open. But Ernest, he'd just seen men try to kill him over a bag he didn't pack. He needed answers. So he broke the rule. And what he read nearly made him throw the whole bag out the window. Ernest sits in the driver's seat. The tunnel is quiet, still. The kind of silence before a storm. He slides the envelope from under the bills. His hands tremble, just slightly. He opens it. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Typed. No name. No signature. This isn't about money. You were chosen because you follow orders. That bag contains information that can collapse a system. 5 names, 2 locations, and proof. Deliver it to the old man at mile marker 48. If you're intercepted, burn the phone. If you're compromised, tell no one. If you open this letter, you've already made your choice. So it wasn't just a heist. It was a war. And he was a pawn in something he didn't fully understand. What am I carrying exactly? Freedom. Whose? Yours. If you survive this, Ernest looks into the rearview mirror. Passengers still rattled, whispering. Lionel stares at him. "You all right, old man?" he asks. Ernest nods. "Yeah." "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." He puts the bus in drive. They move. Mile marker 48 was still miles away. But Ernest had decided something in that tunnel. He was going to see this through. Not for the money, but because the truth was worth more. If you were Ernest, would you deliver the bag, or walk away now that you know it's not just money? Comment, deliver, if you'd see it through. Comment, walk, if you'd disappear with the cash. The road to mile marker 48 was quieter than usual. Too quiet. Ernest knew what that meant. He was being followed. Not by a patrol car. Not by someone who wanted the fare box. This was different. He could feel it in his spine. The bus hums steadily. Every mirror check, every turn signal, every blinking taillight in the distance, it's all suspicious now. A black SUV appears 2 vehicles behind. Same one that tailed him near the tunnel exit. If you're intercepted, burn the phone. Ernest's hand moves slowly to the flip phone under the seat. He opens it. No messages. No calls. He crushes it under his foot. The bus slows. No passengers complain. They've all gone silent. Even Lionel. "Another breakdown?" he asks. "Rest stop," Ernest says. "I need a moment." Ernest exits. Carries the bag. Walks. 50 yards into the trees. He was supposed to find the old man. What he found was an empty chair. And a walkie-talkie taped to the backrest. Ernest approaches. The walkie crackles. A voice. Old. Hoarse. Familiar. "You're early." "Am I?" Ernest replies, steady. "You weren't followed." "I don't know. Maybe." Silence. "You have the package?" "Yes." Ernest spins. The SUV pulls off the main road. 2 men exit, tactical gear. Not cops. Not military. Something else. "Don't give them the bag." "Get out now." North Trail. 3 minutes. "I'll meet you." Ernest bolts, bag in hand. The 2 men shout. One pulls a gun. A single shot hits bark. Ernest dives behind trees. Sprinting like he's 30 again. Like his life depends on it, because it does. "Something ain't right," he mutters. The forest didn't end. It thickened. Twisted trails, uneven earth, and the weight of $5.2 million in cash dragged at Ernest's shoulders. Every pine needle underfoot snapped like a gunshot. Every breath sounded like betrayal. Sweat drips from his brow. He stops, presses his back to a tree. Listening for footsteps. Silence. Too much silence. He checks the walkie-talkie. Dead. No voice. No static. Just a dead signal. This was supposed to be the drop. Not a damn survival test. Old. Rotting. The kind of place kids dare each other to step into on Halloween. He kicks the door open. No sound, no birds, no wind. Only stillness. Then, a voice. Not from the walkie. From inside the station. "Put the bag down, Ernest." Ernest lifts the bag higher. "You first." "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who's been waiting a long time for this day." He's not armed. Or if he is, he's hiding it well. Ernest steps forward. "Then say your piece." "I don't have time for games." "You ever wonder why the route was left open for you?" "I earned that route." "No. It was given. You were chosen, Ernest. You're not running money. You're running a message." "What message?" The man smiles. "That no one notices the quiet ones. Until they rewrite the ending." "What now?" "Now we vanish." But before either man could move, the front window shattered. A flash grenade rolled in. The room went white. Everything explodes, literally. But what Ernest sees in the smoke was never part of the plan. The moment you think you're in control, that's usually when everything catches fire. Smoke. Splinters of wood. The ranger station is a ruin. Flames lick the edges of papers and old maps. A chair lies upside down, burning. Ernest is on the ground, blood trickling from his forehead. The duffel bag, still strapped to his chest, now scorched and torn at the corner. A glimpse of wrapped stacks of money peeking out. They came for the bag. But they didn't expect me to still be breathing. 3 of them. Tactical gear. Not police. Not military. Private. He only gets 1 shot. He aims. Fires at the fuel tank in the corner of the ruined station. Boom. Another explosion. I didn't steal this money to disappear. I took it to be seen. Passengers scrolling their phones. Kids laughing at his stained uniform. P. The same routine. Every day. For 23 years. He hops on. Keys already in the ignition. It was left for him. By someone. You don't leave $5 million lying around. Without a plan B. He revs the engine and disappears into the woods. In the quiet hills beyond the forest, Ernest finds a cabin that shouldn't exist. And a letter addressed to him, written 8 years ago. Coming next. Certainly. Ernest is riding the ATV, slower now. Sweat and ash streak his face. Every bump in the trail jars his bruised ribs. The duffel bag on his back is heavier with each mile. But up ahead, nestled between 2 moss-covered stones, a gate. And behind it, a log cabin. Pristine. Untouched. Almost. Waiting. This isn't on any map. But I remember it. Someone told me it would be here. Once. Dustless. Organized. A kettle on the stove. Books aligned by color. And on the table, a sealed envelope. His name on it. In red ink. A trembling hand reaches. He opens it. If you're reading this, Ernest, you made it. I knew you would. The map wasn't the journey. It was the test. You don't know me, but I've watched your route for 10 years. The bag you carry isn't just cash. It's proof that ordinary men can rewrite the system. He opens a drawer beneath the letter. Inside, another bag. Larger. Sealed. Coded lock blinking green. And a thumb drive. What the hell did I get myself into? What do you think is on the thumb drive? Comment, truth file, if you believe it's a digital confession. Comment, dead man's switch, if you think it's leverage to keep Ernest alive. As night falls, 2 strangers arrive at the cabin, claiming they've been protecting Ernest for years. But he's never seen them before. Ernest stands in the doorway, letter still in hand. But then, headlights. 2 figures emerge from a matte black SUV. One tall, broad-shouldered. The other, shorter, cloaked in gray. Unarmed, but watchful. If you came to take it back, you're wasting your trip. I earned every damn dollar. Mr. Ernest, you've had a long road. We're not here to take. We're here to protect. You passed the test. Like she did. She who? You picked me up every Tuesday. I had a notebook. You thought I was a student. I was watching routes, tracking habits, building a pattern. You became the outlier. She sets a blueprint on the table. It's the entire city's bus grid. Ernest's route is circled. Red ink. Lines darting out from key stops. Symbols. Codes. I passed. What exactly? Some kind of test. The system needed someone invisible. Someone disciplined. Someone who could carry without breaking. You didn't just transport passengers. You transported messages, data, money. Without even knowing. You used me. We chose you. Because you were honest. And now, you've earned your seat at the table. Final instructions. If you walk away, no one follows. But if you stay, the game changes. What would you do if you found out you were unknowingly part of $1 million system? Comment, I'd walk away, or I'd dig deeper. Ernest opens the second bag, and inside, finds a key that doesn't match any lock he's ever seen. Until he checks the cabin floorboards. He opens it slowly. Inside, a small iron key wrapped in a leather cloth. No label. No note. He stares at it. Turns it over. Rust. Not modern. Like it belonged to something old. I've driven every street in this city. But somehow, this feels like the first real detour. He rises, scanning the room. The fireplace. Under the rug. The bookshelf. Nothing. But then, under a loose plank behind the dining chair, he hears a hollow thump. He pries it open with a crowbar. Dust. Cobwebs. And then, a black steel box, embedded in the foundation. No label. Just a single keyhole. He holds up the key. It fits. Click. God Almighty. Inside, bundles of old currency. Photos. Files. Blueprints. A passport with his photo but a different name. And at the bottom, a sealed letter, yellowing with age. Stamped. For Ernest. Final phase. Ernest opens the letter and reads aloud. You were never just a driver. You were the hand that moved quietly. Now comes the choice. Burn this box and go free. Or deliver the final package. Ernest looks into the fire, then at the key in his hand. His face is unreadable. Would you read that letter or burn the box and walk away? Comment, I'd read it, or I'd burn it. The letter contains an address. But it's not in the city. It's in the mountains. And he's got until midnight to deliver what's inside. The wind howls through the trees. Ernest locks the cabin. In his hand, the sealed envelope, now tucked into a weathered courier pouch. In his eyes, resolve. I've driven night routes before. But this one don't come with transfers or second chances. He checks the fuel gauge. Full. The route in the letter? A forgotten trail through the mountains. Route 0. Not on any modern map. Just coordinates. And a warning. No stops. No signals. No turning back. The passenger will be waiting. Every bend in the road creaks like it's testing him. Owl calls. Rain begins to fall. His fingers tighten on the wheel. He speaks aloud, almost to the bus itself. One more ride. Let's not break down now. Locked. Heavy. And next to it, a handwritten tag. For delivery. By midnight. A sign emerges from the trees, carved into stone. Welcome to Eden Ridge. No lights. No homes. Just road. And something in the woods. Watching. If the letter told you to drive to a ghost town with no stops and deliver a chained briefcase, would you do it? Comment. Yes. For $5 million I'd go. No way. Too risky. The rain eases, but thunder rolls in the distance. A deer darts across the road. Ernest barely flinches. He's not looking at the forest anymore. He's focused on what's ahead. A single cabin. No lights. But on the porch, a figure in a black trench coat, holding a walking stick. The passenger. I thought I was making a drop. Not picking anyone up. The figure boards slowly. Never says a word. He sits halfway down the aisle, 3 seats behind the briefcase. Ernest stares into the rearview mirror. Their eyes never meet. But Ernest feels watched. The kind of watched that chills your spine. On the seat beside him, another envelope. Where did that come from? He opens it. Inside, a new route. And a small worn photo of him as a young man. Young Ernest, in uniform, saluting next to his first city bus. I never showed this to anyone. Not even my daughter. Ernest glances back. The figure in the trench coat is now gone. Vanished. Seat empty. Rain falling again. And the only sound now? That beeping. Growing faster. What the hell did I just bring? If you were Ernest, would you keep driving or pull over and run? Comment. Keep driving. Run for it. The road is pitch black ahead. But his mind is darker. Who leaves a photo from my past, inside a case full of money? The metal doors open slowly as motion sensors activate. Inside, an underground vault. Steel, quiet, glowing with surveillance monitors. And one man standing in front of the final door. The owner. Each screen shows different angles of Ernest's life. Him driving. Him with his daughter. Him alone at night counting coins at the terminal. You passed every test, Mr. Ernest. The cash drop. The silence. The decoy passenger. You never asked questions. Test. I almost died out there. Who are you people? We're the kind of people who reward loyalty. Inside that case. 5.2 million. Untraceable. Every cent earned by keeping your mouth shut. Scene. The case is opened. Wads of bills. Real. Neatly stacked. Each bundle marked with red tape. Underneath it all, a new passport, a set of keys, a plane ticket, and a handwritten note. The route ends here. Enjoy freedom. He says nothing, just nods. He doesn't trust this man, but he trusts his instincts, and they say walk away now. Ernest steps out of the vault, briefcase in hand. The metal doors close behind him. A black car waits. No driver. Just keys in the ignition, and a map. Destination. Anywhere but here. I used to drive people around for a living. Now I'm finally driving myself. Toward peace.